Some breaking news into us just now. For more, let's cross to our Home and Security editor, Mark White, because Mark, the English Channel.
Yes, it just goes from bad to worse in terms of the numbers crossing, and we've reached another milestone today with the news that 7,000 Channel migrants have now crossed in just 8 weeks since Labour came to power, an indication that this particular crisis is not slowing down in any way, shape or form. And that 7,000 figure is just being reached as we speak. In the next few minutes, another Border Force vessel due into Dover Harbour with we believe at least 50 migrants on board. That will take it to more than 150 today. Follows on from 614 who crossed yesterday, 525 the day before. You can see where I'm going with this. It's just never ending. 20,500 for the year so far, as we were reporting exclusively here on GB News yesterday. Now, this issue, every time we bring it up in the 8 weeks since Labour came to power, gets all the fanboys and fangirls of the Labour Party very exercised, saying how on earth can you possibly judge Labour on the small boats crisis? They haven't had time to enact all the various plans that they wanted to stop the small boat. The fact is, though, we held the previous government to account. We regularly reported on significant days of migrant crossings and milestones reached. We'll do exactly the same now that Labour is in charge.
And so you should. And when you approach the government or the Home Office about these numbers, what is their general response?
Well, they say that everybody wants to see a reduction in the number of small boats crossing the English Channel, and that they are, to that end, in the process of recruiting 100 additional investigators to beef up the powers of the National Crime Agency to go after the gangs, to, as Sir Keir Starmer puts it, smash the gangs. A different approach from the Conservatives, who wanted to have a system of deterrence with sending many of these small boat migrants off to Rwanda. That's now been scrapped.
But Mark, as of course you say, the 50 or so people that on board this boat, as we speak, being escorted by the Coast Guard into the landing ground at Dover. I mean, this is being escorted by our Coast Guard. It seems extraordinary to most people that people who aren't going through the normal processes of applying for asylum in this country, who aren't going through the normal processes of using one of the schemes, one of the official channels, one of the official routes that has been laid down or set up, people who haven't applied to come here on a work visa, people who haven't done this legally and properly, that they nevertheless are escorted to this country and to accommodation paid for by the taxpayer.
This is an issue, and those facts that you set out there are facts that really anger people right across the country as they look to what the UK government is doing and the likes of Border Force and indeed the RNLI, and it's being accused of acting really like a taxi service. As soon as anyone reaches UK waters, they're guaranteed to be picked up and taken to the UK, and what they would like, many people would like to see, is perhaps a more robust approach that turns these boats back, that ensures they never get to UK waters in the first place. But then, of course, if a government does adopt these more robust tactics, they get criticised. The latest incident where a government is being criticised happened just recently off the coast of Morocco, near a Spanish enclave there, where a boat, a small migrant boat, was involved in an incident. I think we can show you some video of that now. A Guardia Civil vessel going at high speed was trying to intercept that migrant boat, and you can see the video there. But the migrant boat in question, it was only carrying 4 migrants, but it was clearly a power boat in terms of being able to zip through the waters just near Morocco. It was not compliant at all. It was trying to evade the Spanish police patrol boat, and the Spanish police got in front of it, as you can see here, and at one point actually ended up partially on top of this small boat that you'll see in just a second or so. Wow. And in doing that, you can see just over the top of that boat now, that then partially sank this migrant vessel. 4 people who were on board had to be rescued. 1 was slightly injured. But of course, Guardia Civil, the Spanish government, make no apologies for trying to prevent these illegal crossings into their water. Now, as far as the UK is concerned, we ourselves looked at more robust tactics. It was 2 years ago I was down in Dover and watched jet skis being used by Border Force. We can hopefully show you those images as well, that jet skis that were used by Border Force vessels to intercept these migrant boats in the water. These appear to be still images. But those jet skis were being used out there to rehearse for a tactic that was all about pushing the small boats back to France, but the advice from the lawyers was that they shouldn't go down this route, that it could be potentially illegal, and if they did that, they could get into trouble, so they abandoned it.
Mark, I'm sure you've had the same conversations with the Home Office that I have over the years, which tends to be when you ask about Australia and their successful policy about turning back the boats, that it was a lot easier for Australia to turn back the boats to countries that, frankly, have very low GDPs, don't have great control over their waters, and also the fact that there are international waters there outside of Australia, whereas the English Channel is English until it is French, and is a busy shipping lane and all the rest of it. I suppose the other issue with the Spanish interception, as we saw, they're in Moroccan waters. Morocco, not a rich country, not a country that has clout on the international stage, not a permanent member of the UN Security Council. They're not going to criticise the Spanish in terms of what they do in their waters in the same way that the French would criticise us.
No, I mean, all of that is true. But at the end of the day, I mean, the Australians were still very heavily criticised for what they did, international waters or not, and they had to take it back to another territory, to Indonesia, when they put these boats, at the end of the day, back onto that territory. So they decided that they were going to do it and be damned with the consequences.
But of course the consequences would have been... I mean, Indonesia could say, you know what, we'll slap some tariffs on you, Australia. They won't really mind about that. If the French say we'll close the English Channel to you, or, you know, we'll make things difficult for you in terms of trade or in terms of the Channel Tunnel, it's a different set of sort of consequences.
To that end, the French have been robust themselves, increasingly so of late. There are increasing violent incidents in northern France because despite the criticism that we level at the French for not doing enough over the years, their law enforcement are trying to puncture boats and intercept these vehicles that arrive with marine equipment to construct the boats. And they've also been trying to stop some of the boats coming off the coastline. I think we've got some more video that we can show you that shows a French rigid inflatable patrol boat that is in the process of trying to encircle a migrant boat, ensure that that boat does not get far enough off the shore to be able to make progress towards the UK. So they've been criticised for that as well. But that's the kind of tactics that many people would like to see the UK adopt more regularly.
Very interesting indeed. And Keir Starmer in Germany talking about how he's very concerned about the challenge of the far right and populism and nationalism. I wonder if he gave people a feeling of control over this issue, that maybe they wouldn't be pushed to that.
Well, much more coming up after this.